Alrighty, guys, welcome back. A new and improved League of Inches, trying something new for all the viewers out there. We're going to be doing a Facebook Live event. Obviously, gives a chance for some people to jump on here, watch, see what the gossip is, ask questions as they go. We'll keep people up to date with that as well. So just wanted to quickly make sure we're going good with Facebook and
We're good. I
everything's
checked it. We're
fine.
good.
Yep, sweet as. Alrighty, I want to start off positive, guys. I'm feeling good this weekend, and one thing I want to say is the mighty West Tigers. It's been a quick rebuild. They've been talking about it since Sheens and Robbie Farrow, Benji Marshall all came in. Adam, I'll go to you first. Where's it all turned around for the West Tigers?
I think it's just time. They probably just need a bit of time. Like, obviously, when you bring a new coach in, and this is one of my biggest criticisms about sacking coaches and making changes, is it takes so much to get that structure and what the coach wants to play. Look, obviously, as coaches as well, they had to find what they wanted to achieve. And it's easy to say, all right, Tim Sheens has been there, he's done it before, but the game's changed so much in that time. So he really had to find the balance of what he wanted, find out what works in this modern day, and he has done that. And look, if you look back at the Tigers' results, there's probably 2 or 3 games they should have won. We have only really taken one smashing to Brisbane, which they weren't in the game. Besides that, they should have beat Parramatta, really. They should have beat Manly, and they probably should have beat the Bulldogs as well. So if you look at those games, you add 3 wins to their total, much like a couple of other teams that are down that end of the ladder. But you add 3 wins to their total, and they're sitting on 14 points, and they're sitting equal 6. So they haven't really been smashed. Their for and against now sits at minus 42 after a pretty thumping win. And, I think this time they finally clicked together what they wanted. They've got some good young kids coming through as well. Their backline's made up of good young stars and a bit of experience there. And, look, their forward pack works hard. And, obviously, Appy's starting to settle in as well.
Yeah, Appy's starting to have his way with the team. You feel like they're starting to play like a mini Penrith Panthers in a way with what they were doing the last couple of years. Matty, what are you liking from the West Tigers?
Yeah, I'm liking the fullback. To me, it's got when Brian Smith was sacked and JT took over at Eels and brought Hayne in. This kid's a gun. Like, he just carved up the other night. The little set plays, crazy inside, outside, back inside play they did to score from. It's all clicking. So at the right time as well. So they could go on a little bit of a run here, guys.
Yeah, I feel like it could, and I hate to say he's actually done something, proven himself right. But Gus Gould said this the other week on 100% Footy. He said the West Tigers are about to make a run. Keep an eye on them, and they're doing just that. And Jerome Buller, for mine, sums up the West Tigers at the moment and how they're actually playing and how he's playing. He's been sensational. I'll go back to that Magic Round performance against the Dragons where right at the end, they had a chance to win it, and he made, I think, 3 tackles in a row in the last 3 plays and really just personified the West Tigers at the moment. There's a lot of talk, a lot of noise early on from outside the media, things like that about the Tigers, and it's clearly not working. But I think we've seen now that they've got the right sort of foundations in play, and I say that in terms of Tim Sheens, Benji Marshall, Robbie Farah. You see Benji a lot more hands-on now. He's walking around with the clipboard, things like that. Tim Sheens is there for 2 years, but could you see that possibly getting fast-tracked, Adam?
I think it doesn't really matter who they've got listed as a coach. I think as you look at the game, you see Benji's one with the headsets, barking the instructions down there from pretty much day one. So, look, I think he'll slowly work his way into being in control. I think that was always the plan anyway, for him to be there. I had some doubts over the way they did it, appointing him and saying he will be in charge in a couple of years, because if, let's say, they had a shocking season, they lost every game, which it looked like they could have done there for a while, would you have stuck with your coach? Then would you have stuck with your assistant coaches? It was a bit of a hard one. So, look, you can definitely see the Tim Sheens stamp on the team. The way they're starting to flick the ball around and play some bit of – it's entertaining footy, let's be honest. You can see Benji all over that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it just kind of happens along the way and it's not official, but by what I can see, it looks like Benji has a pretty dominant hand in what's going on there.
Look, it wouldn't be a West Tigers little talking point if we didn't bring up a certain number 7, Luke Brooks. It's obviously going quite well at the moment. Really happy for the bloke, especially on the weekend. I think he played a steadying hand, which is exactly sort of hand and style of player he needs to play. Matty, do you feel, I know there's been rumours now they're looking to extend it. I feel like in a way it's because they haven't been able to get any of their other targets they've been public about trying to get. So it might be the best of the rest scenario. But is this a marriage that should continue to happen? Or, I don't know, for mine, I felt like it's needed to part ways for a while now for both parties to benefit. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Brooksy needs a change. I think both need a change, but I think they'll just give it how the rest of the year goes. Like, there's a few young players I know they're targeting for the junior ranks. I think one of ours is, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Brooksy, have been for a while. I feel like he gets some pretty harsh comments. But yeah, I think he needs a change, and they'll see how he goes at the end of the year. But yeah, you can see the Benji influences coming.
He's gone. Hold that thought.
He's gone.
We saw that. Yeah, we saw that little parts where they were arguing backstage and the coach's box, Sheens and Benji. So yeah, I think Benji will be a good influence on him.
Yeah, and what about the 5'8"? And we've seen a little comment pop up there, one of the viewers, Troy, about Schuster. But I want to talk about Wakeham first, because he's come from the clouds. He wasn't even anywhere near first grade last year at the Dogs. He was playing reserve grade, and he's come over. I think he basically had no contract there for a while throughout the off season. Brendan Wakeham, he's been really just out there as one of their best players so far.
I just want to touch on, before you do that, on Luke Brooks quickly, because there's so much criticism on halves that people forget how young they are when they come through. He's 29 this year, so he's actually in what they call the twilight years, and probably where he should be playing his most mature football. I don't think he's had a bad game since he copped that criticism, which was a week, of course, before he played Parramatta. I thought he was excellent that game. I think he's gone all with it since. So we see players mature as they get to that 28, 29, 30, 31. And look at Sean Johnson now. Like, Sean Johnson's over there playing without stressing his football, and he's absolutely killing it. So I think the Tigers should stay with him. They've stuck with him his whole career. So now's the time they're going to start to reap the benefits. On Brendan Wakeham, I think he's a player that has always had that ability to run the ball and do those freakish kind of things. But I think, as I touched on before, the structure of what the Tigers and the players they're running are actually suiting his game to a T.
Yeah, I agree. With the Josh Schuster rumour going to the Tigers, I posted today about the fact that his party was pictured with the West Tigers party, having a dinner and talking obviously about the possible signing. I think I've heard and I've read that Manly and the West Tigers have also had a chat about this. So you know how rugby league works. One day it's red hot and it looks like it could happen. The next day it might not. You never know with these kinds of things. Do you think it's a good matchup, Matty? The Shoes to the Tigers?
No. I'd stick with Wakeham, and like, the writing was on the wall. Obviously they went for Moses and then got Wakeham because they knew they weren't going to get Moses. But yeah, that's the problem we see in football a lot, the too many halves combinations. Like, yeah, Schuster killed it against Canberra on the weekend. I think he got like a try and nearly every try assist. But yeah, I don't see it happening unless obviously the Benji can work with him on his game a bit more. But yeah, I'd stick with the halves they got now.
I think it's a danger, especially if they keep Brooks. I don't think he's the 5'8" to complement Brooks's game moving forward. So it's an interesting one.
I think Manly got rocks in the head if they let him go, because just watching Manly over the last couple of weeks before last week when they had the combination of Taylor Evans and Cooper Johns, without Turbo being in his best form and running free, because we know he's obviously carrying something or just adapting to whatever it is he needs to adapt to. They're a boring, predictable team. I watched that Magic round. It was the most boring game of football I've watched in a long time. Adding Schuster in there gives them that bit of razzle, that bit of spark, and lets Daly concentrate on his kicking and his structure. And it brings Tommy back in the game because all of a sudden teams have to watch their backline move with Schuster not knowing what he's going to do. So if Manly were to let him go, I think that'd be a bad decision by them.
Yeah, no, I agree with that one. Look, guys, while you're watching, if you feel free to drop a comment in as well. We'll get to it either on the spot or as we go with the broadcast. I'll post it up and go from that one. Next talking point I want to talk about, and I want to stay on this positive mind frame I've got at the moment. It doesn't happen very often, so let's embrace it. Your team to beat. Ask you boys to do a little bit of homework. Going to be interesting what you come up with here, because there's a few teams starting to sort of poke their neck out, but a few that's had a shock loss or two over the last few weeks. So, Matty, who you got here as your team to beat?
I'm going to go Panthers. I think they're going to start. They're back on top. They had a few little hiccups, but yeah, for mine, I don't know how they got to the top again. Like, they were just at the bottom of the 8, and now they're on top after 2 games. So that just shows how the competition, how close it is. But I'm going to throw out there, I'm going to say Bulldogs. I'm going to say...
To win the comp.
I'm going to say they might go on a bit of a run. Tavita Pangai Jr. comes back from Origin confidence. They might surprise a lot of people if they can string some wins together over the next couple of weeks.
Look out.
They're getting all their players back, and it's starting to look, that game against Titans looked scary in that last couple of minutes.
I didn't ask for a bold prediction, but that is bloody bold. Adam, what do you got?
Yeah, I think there's some Georgia Law. No, I'm just joking. For me, it was pretty obvious up until last week. I thought South Sydney were the team to beat. I've been saying that to everyone. I thought they were in the best form, consistently playing the hardest games and consistently improving every week. But based on last week, they got manhandled by Parramatta, and they got manhandled through the middle and actually dominated the forward pack. And any team that can dominate a team through their forward pack and let their halves play is a team to watch. For me, look, it's a hard one because you look from 1st to 15th and there's 3 wins separating 1st to 15th. There's 5 teams on 16 points and there's another 3 teams on 14 points, and then obviously Strikers down. If you want me to put a line through someone, I'm putting a line through the Roosters. But it's hard to go past Penrith, as Matt said, just given they've been there before. Saying that it's very hard to win 3 comps in a row. I don't think Brisbane have done enough. I'm going to say Cronulla. I think they'll learn a lot from last year and take a bit of experience out of what happened last year. But look, I don't want to seem biased, but if Parramatta continue the way they played, they're going to go on a bit of run as well because South Sydney were my team to beat and they absolutely manhandled them.
Yeah, Matty, can you just get back to the viewers quickly? Have you been, in fact, on the drink this afternoon?
No, unfortunately, only Coke Zero. But drink West if you're going to drink responsibly.
He's not even a sugar high on the zero.
I can't. Yeah, exactly. So no, it's just throwing it out there, a little bold.
I somewhat agree with Dave. What he's saying. That's the old man. South, I do like them. I think they may be excused for an off night against us, but I feel like Parramatta actually made them play that way as well, keeping the ball in play and targeting with the kicking game was exceptional. So that was a great job by Parra, and easily their best game of the year. I feel like I'm with Adam here with Penrith Panthers. I feel like just defence wins your comps. Unfortunately, we've seen that the last couple of years as well by Penrith, but they're just so good. They've got the nucleus of that team still together, the main sort of players there, the Clearys, the LOIs, they're all there. I just feel like they're going to build to the right time of year this time, and really looking forward to the back half, because I do think there's some teams that are going to come out of the woodwork and make some runs. We normally see this Origin time. Some of the big players will come back to the pack during this next few week period, but then afterwards they go back and continue to sort of go out in front, and we go, oh crap, we forgot about that team. And that might be a South Sydney, but they've only really lost so far. Obviously, Latrell's their main one. Then you've got Cam Murray and Joe Arrow as well, which is big losses. But the Broncos could be one team that fall quite a bit in this period and this run of games. So they're definitely one to watch. I don't think it's necessarily panic stations. I know we love that word at the moment, but over the next few weeks, you can probably see them go hovering around that sort of bottom 8 side of things. I know I didn't ask you for these questions, but is there a team other than the Broncos that you feel like could be that team that slips at the moment, next probably 5-6 week period?
Look, obviously Penrith, for the amount of players they've got in Origin, you think would have to slip. I haven't really looked who they played during those. I know they got the bye this week.
Don't they get the bye every Origin game like the last 2 years? Or
yeah, well, there you go. But see, there's players that still got to back up after Origin as well. So
yeah,
you think Penrith? I know they got the job done a couple of times last year when they needed to, but you think they'd have to fall. It really just opens it up, and I think it's just going to make the competition even closer. Like you said, you see those teams at the bottom of the 8, on the cusp of the 8 there, if they're not affected, picking up wins. Let's say Penrith, South Sydney, Cronulla, and Brisbane and Melbourne, who are affected, drop games. You could have a situation soon where nearly everyone's within 1 win of each other from 1st to 10th. So very interesting to watch that part of it.
Yeah. Matty, sorry, got a team in mind?
Yeah, I think the Dolphins, I don't know. I just get the feeling that they've had their little run. I think they'll drop out of the 8.
Yeah, I know they had a bit of that comeback in that second half there, which they've done a lot this year. But I've been a massive Dolphins fan so far, but I feel like that first half last week sort of was a bit of an eye opener in terms of the Dolphins, and is that bubble bursting a little bit for the remainder of the year? It's a long season ahead. As we've seen here as well, the buys and when teams get it is an interesting point as well. I know there's some teams out there that are looking at possibly having their second bye this weekend, and there's still some teams out there that haven't even had their first bye, like Paris. So it's definitely an interesting way they make up of the draw. It doesn't seem too fair. There's probably 2 sides to the argument there. You could either be happy to have it 3 buys for your run home and keep fresh, or you might have wanted one a little bit early to just get the cobwebs out, have a rest, talk about what needs to be done, and go from
Bali.
There. Yeah, go to Bali, go on a holiday. I'll say to you boys, being Para fans, are you happy with the buy schedule for, say, the Eels? I know they're one of the teams that haven't had one yet. Do you think it would have suited the team to have one a bit earlier than they will?
See, I'd rather the games we're playing over Origin period, I'd rather us not have their buys then. I think having the bye in the last round is majorly helpful as well if we're in a position to make the 8, because we get that rest. We usually see us rest players going into that last game if we can. But if you look who Parramatta play through Origin, they play North Queensland this week without obviously 3 of their players, their halfback, their centre, and their lock. They're then going to play a Manly Seagulls team without their halfback, fullback, and someone else. And I think the game after we may have the ball. No, we play the Warriors, so it's not really that majorly affected there. But when you only lose one person, I'd rather have you buys when everyone's full strength.
Yeah, no, I agree with that one. Let's move on to another talking point that I've got for us, and that is player stupidity, which a lot can fall under this category, especially this weekend. I feel like we had a weekend where players were sort of all over the shop mentally. Some were thinking about State of Origin, some weren't, some didn't give an absolute rat's about anything. There's a few points I know that Adam wants to bring up, so I'm going to go to him first. He's, I'm sure, ready to rip in.
I spoke about the other week about refereeing consistency, and look, to me, the NRL referees, they missed 2 clear send-offs on the weekend, and that's the most frustrating thing. They're talking about all the player stuff and cracking down on hip drops and crusher tackles and stuff, but the good old-fashioned send-off still needs to come in. The Radley headbutt was a clear send-off. You can't headbutt a bloke. We had one up in the Newcastle comp the week before that was a send-off. Everyone knows that. It's a clear send-off. It's a deliberate headbutt. And the Kafusi one, look, if that happened in 15 minutes ago, it would have been off. I know he got sin bin for it, but that was a clear send-off. Once again, he had the option to pull out of that tackle. He come in with a swinging arm and attacked a player in the head. It's just frustrating because you see these things happen, and then, look, it wasn't either of my teams, so it really didn't affect my opinion on it. But I don't like Kafusi. I don't like some of the stuff he's got away with over the years, and he continues to get away. I know he's been suspended for 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it was, but he should have been off the field. And look, that could affect the team come the end of the year. The Dolphins could have lost that game by 40 or 50 with one player out, which 4 against could come into it. So someone's season could be ruined by that poor decision.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. And I feel like, especially for both of these players, we've had this conversation over and over again. They just don't seem to learn. Kafusi, especially, I know he's just hard to grasp. You're literally on the edge of playing State of Origin. You would have been one of the first forwards picked for how your season's gone, and he just came out of nowhere to do that shot. There was no need to do that at all. Even Radley with the forward. Actually, he's pledged his allegiance to England, so he can't play for New South Wales anyway. But Matty, what are you thinking of this at the moment, especially the 2 issues we're talking about?
Yeah, well, Kafusi's had his history with stuff, just hitting players after passing in the head, and yeah, I don't know. I think even like the Tino one, I think there was a bit of uproar about Tino to Reed, how he looked at him and then elbowed him in the face. But if you do that as a tackling player, it's a automatic thing. But just they know they're gonna get they're gonna get penalized and suspended and stuff like that. But like they can pull out of stuff like that. Like it's not needed. Like we've seen accidental ones where they've hit him like here. And it's been like head-eye tackle on report. And it's like, but a guy just got coat angered to the face and he's not even penalized or nothing. So, yeah, they're just brain explosions and too many players have them these days. And it's going to cost someone like Alex back in the day, like with the Jordan McLean spear tackle, Alex McKinnon stuff. Like it's like, I don't know.
The thing that pisses me off the most is in 2021, the season was pretty much ruined by a crackdown on high shots. And now I've just gone away from it, ignoring it. Like the game did so much back then, and like it has with the hip drop, we thought, how are they going to get rid of this out of the game? Like accidents happen and stuff. But you watch the players. I'll give Nathan Brown as an example. Over the weeks, he slowly worked out how to tackle where he had to hit, and the contact becomes so much more solid. It was like the olden days. The contact was so much better. There was wrestling in the game. It was so good. But all of a sudden, they've just ignored it. Now it's sneaking back in the game. If one thing needs to sneak back in the game, let's let them fight again.
Yeah, basically. I think Finn Diesel, as he likes to be known as now, had a brain fade, had a brain fart. He was just looking for blood that whole game. You could see it as soon as he walked on the field, he just had that look in his eye where he wanted to flog someone. And I think he said in an interview before that game that Welch was the man he wanted to go after. He said it on Hindy Fletch, and I think he's actually meant that. And he's gone out and he's got him all right, but it's cost him a State of Origin spot and maybe for 2 games.
Now Adam's having technical difficulties again.
No,
it just locks my screen for some reason. I need to remember to move my mouse every so often.
I'll go to this one first. So obviously we've got another incident over the weekend, that the LOI incident, obviously pushing the touch judge. He looks like out of the way, and then he realizes what he's done, and he's shut himself and gone, oops, State of Origins next week. I can't be doing that. So, Matty,
he claimed he thought it was a Broncos player. Like,
they weren't even wearing
come
that
on,
jersey.
man, come on. If it wasn't Origin week, he'd be suspended, surely. Like, if he didn't play for Penrith, he'd be suspended. Like, it's just stupid to do. Like, just I know what Adam's going to say, because we know Adam loves Jerome. Like, he's like, to see him in the streets here in Penrith, like, you can sit and have a chat, but just the shit he does on the field, like, wow, he needs to stop.
I don't think fans like the fact that if it wasn't Origin right now, he would have a suspension, definitely, at least a week. I remember the crackdown a couple of years ago when you weren't even allowed to ask the referee something and touch him in the process. So it's quite funny.
Didn't Thurston get a week or something for or something?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If it was Jake Savorovich, the nicest bloke in rugby league, would we be talking about it, or would we see it as an accident?
Just an accident.
Just an
But it's the
accident.
way it happened, but
I don't believe it was an
Jake
accident.
wouldn't be pushing him
Yeah,
out
I
the
know.
way. He'd be like, sorry, sir.
I think he looked at him and obviously did it. But look, he turned around and apologised straight away. I don't like LOI. I hate the bloke. I don't know what he's like off the field. But on the field, I think he's a grub and a cocky motherfucker. But sorry for the language. But for me,
all right, let it out.
He mistakes happen. Players make mistakes on the field. Players do silly things. So for him to turn around and apologise straight away, I'm happy with the slap him with a fine. And look, I said if it was someone else, we probably wouldn't even be talking about it. We would have been happy with that.
Look, we touched on this one last week. I know we haven't been happy with a lot of the officiating lately, and I think once again over the weekend we've just seen it slowly getting worse. But let's touch on it again now while we are a Facebook Live first one, so a bit more viewers probably watching these videos. My thoughts at the moment on the refereeing is the fact that it's controlled way too much by the bunker. That's my concern at the moment. The referees can't actually referee the game. They're not actually doing what they're employed to do. It's basically they're there as like a robot and they do as the bunker is basically telling them to do. That's why they spend half the game touching their earlobe. So I'm really concerned about that factor of it. I feel like they're taking away the referees' profession, really, what they're actually good at and what they can do. And they've shown in the past they can do it. I don't know, you had a lot to say about this last week. After the weekend as well, a few more incidences. Where are you at the moment with the refs?
Just inconsistencies. Look, I never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I know it's because we won the game. But I thought the best referee game on the weekend was actually Ashley Klein. I've been bagging him out for weeks and thought he was terrible, but the reason it was the best referee game was because he didn't make the game about himself. He didn't make himself the centerpiece. Look, we ended up with a 6-1 penalty count, but 3 or 4 of those penalties were in the last 5 minutes. There was only 1-6 again. There was only 2 bunker interventions. One for overruling a dropout, which actually got wrong, and the other one was for a no try that, freakily you're not going to be able to see. He's ruled a try. But, yeah, look, the bunker, I think the bunker should be ruling on the tries, really, or they should be ruling on everything. It's as simple as that, because there's nothing more frustrating as a fan than seeing something go wrong and your team not challenging it and them going, well, why didn't they just step in and get that wrong? Because as fans, we understand that things are going to happen in the game, mistakes are going to be made, but when you see one thing, like they turn around, they say, let's change this, it's not a dropout, it's now a 20-metre restart, all right? But then you see something else happen, which is a clear strip or a clear knock on and no one's challenged it and 3 blokes on the field have missed it, the bunker should be stepping in there if it's a stoppage.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Matty, is it getting harder to watch?
Yeah. Well, perfect example was the Brisbane Panthers game. Brisbane scored off that bomb and he caught it a try, went up to the bunker, showed Walsh actually took out the Penrith player, and then the bunker actually was going to award it, and then the ref intervened and said, hang on, I don't like the look of that, play it again, and then overturned the actual bunker. So it was kind of weird one, and we've seen those in the past given. There was another one that I saw where you watch it and you can hear when the player is going for a kick, you can hear the ref talking to the bunker about, what's the penalty count? What's this? What's that? There was one where a couple of weeks ago, the Souths Panthers game, you heard the ref saying to Isaiah Yeo, it's Latrell left foot. He's going to go short kickoff. Make sure Tago doesn't escort. And I'm like, are they refs or coaches? Like, is it scripted now, or is he telling him what's about to happen? Like, it's just getting too much where the ref is controlling it. It's like a WWE wrestling where the ref tells them the moves next. Like,
I hate that part of the game.
You can hear it, but like you can literally hear him telling the players, it's Latrell left foot, short kickoff. Like, he knows what foot he's going to kick with and everything. So, yeah, they need to be held accountable.
I hate that on-field coaching the refs do with a passion, because the way I see it is It's like, look at the scrums, for instance. They're literally counting down the whole time. They go 15, 10, 5, pack. There's a penalty there for a reason. If the teams know by now they've got to pack the scrum within 25 seconds or whatever it is, if they don't do it, they're penalised. So I don't know why the referees have this
And
need.
the ref tells them, "Oh, it's okay. The timer's off." Like when it's about to go to 0, he's like, "Oh, it's okay. Timer's off." Like it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Adam, where are you at with the final say here on this whole situation, which I feel like fans as a whole is just absolutely fed up with at the moment. And with that showpiece event about to hit the TV screens, like it's hard to find who the number one referee is at the moment.
Yeah, like I said, there was a couple of young ones coming through I thought were excellent until they started getting the higher end games. But to me, it might be time to go back to the 2 referees to clean up the game a little bit. We only went away from the back to 1 referee due to COVID and due to obviously the availability for training where the coaches lived in, the referees lived and stuff. So it might be time to go back to 2 just to keep an eye on the ruck. There's so much happening in the game and so much they're trying to enforce. I think it's too hard for 1 referee to handle. It's either that or we let the bunker be more involved in every decision, which is just going to frustrate every fan.
Yeah, I think they've quickly got to get into a room, I feel like, with some of the most powerful figures in the game and just sort this all out, this mess, because it seems to rear its head up every year and it's getting more and more. It seems like it's impacting games more and more as well. So
I'll touch on one more thing, quickly, before we go to that. Just that what you're saying is coaching and the talking to the players. Half the time they're probably in their earpiece, talking to the touchies. Obviously, the communication there is pretty high through the referees. Someone who's been involved with referees, that's what they do. So a lot of time they'll be saying that. It might seem like they're talking to the players. And I know the players are going to hear it and obviously know what the go is, but a lot of the time it will be the touchies.
The most frustrating one for me is the hand on the ball. When the player comes up, he yells out, get your hand off the ball. But then it's supposed to be a penalty. And then most of the time he penalises it saying you had your hand on the ball. But you hear him yelling out to other players to get the hand off the ball as they're tackling.
Yeah, it's an interesting, and it's nice to see Jeff Tooby make an appearance on the show. There needs to be an investigation. There has to be an investigation. So, 1 ref, we missed those days. Not the 1 ref. We went to the 2 ref for a while. It feels like we almost need to go back to those days, and it seemed to be easier than what it is at the moment, which is quite frustrating. But boys, we've only got about probably 15 minutes or so to go, and I want to quickly talk on Origin. Obviously, the showpiece event, team lineups have been released, and I'm just going to throw to both of you straight away here and toss up. Obviously, the head scratches from mine. Tavita Pangai Jr. is the clear one. I have absolutely no idea what Freddie and Bruni have done in a room together, but whatever they've lit up is powerful stuff on the Sunday night, because I have continued to think about this over the last day and I've read stuff about it. I can't get my head around the fact that Tavita Pangai Jr. is now a State of Origin quality player.
Well, let's be honest. It was Regan Campbell-Gillard's spot until he got injured. So they've obviously
Jake's
gone
spot.
Or Jake's as well. Look, I know he probably hasn't been playing his best football, but I never thought I'd say this either. A lot of groundbreaking stuff tonight, but Safidi's been there before and probably could have got the job done. Jake, they said he's carrying a calf injury. Like I said, I think the long-term plan would have been RCG. If he can control his game, Tavita Pangai, he does have something to offer. Do I think he deserves his spot? No. Do I think that's an impact there of rewarding players that don't deserve it? Yes, and that just seems to be what our New South Wales Origin team's all about. But if they were fair dinkum, they wouldn't have picked LOI at 5'8" either. Look, a few other ones for me, looking at Queensland, I said Queensland last week would win the series 3-0. I don't think they should have picked Walsh. I think he has too many errors in his game for the Origin stage still, and I think that would be their undoing. But picking the hammer in the centres over Gagai as well, which was another brain fart for me for them. He's going to get defensively exposed in the centres. I think hopefully Latrell's the one that lines up against him, which he should be. I think Latrell will have an absolute field day with him. So, yeah, some strange choices there, and I think that's their biggest weaknesses for both teams. Our weakness being we picked a bench player that I don't even know if he's going to play many minutes in Nico Hines. It seems very much like a waste of time having him there. He should have been at 5'8". And it'll be interesting how Appy goes at hooker playing the full 80 in a high-intensity game as well, which he hasn't done for quite a while.
Yeah. Chris, with your question there, what we were actually told yesterday was Campbell Graham was injured, and that was the main reason why he actually moved out of the New South Wales team. But we've seen team list today, and he's in the side, so it's a head scratcher. Personally, I would have had him on the wing. I know that probably is in the way of Josh Addo-Carr, but for mine, Josh Addo-Carr didn't come back and set the world on fire on the weekend, so it wasn't like he made sure he was a must-select like Tommy Trebojevic did. So I'm with you. I feel like Graham should have been at least on a wing. I don't know if you can, just with how Turbo played, he's just that origin player who steps up when New South Wales need it most, and he's got the runs on the board. And you can't not have Latrell in the centre doing his thing either. Matty, what did you make of the both team selections?
Yeah, strange. I was half expect they're going about pick and stick and loyalty and stuff. I know they had it on another talk show last night, but yeah, Dane Gagai, I know he's been exposed at centre the last couple of times in normal rounds, but when he puts on that Origin jersey, he's just Newcastle should make him wear it under his Newcastle jersey.
Flip the switch on the back to Queensland mate all the time.
Yeah. But for me, Pangai Jr., I think he's just there to take out someone, to be honest. I think he's the Mr. Expendable. We've all seen coaches do it in the past, but I don't even see him seeing out the whole game. I literally think he's just going to go out and get all fired up, and someone's going to bait him, and he'll end up taking someone's head.
Isn't that the concerning reason why to choose him in the first place then? Because let's be honest, if you miss a player for 10 minutes or so in Origin or at work,
it could cost you the game.
Could get a send-off. I feel like that could be a real big loss to him.
I remember I had a conversation with a now retired NRL coach, and he used to say to us all the time, if you see someone, a no-name forward named on a bench, they're there for a reason. And I don't know, and he always said, whenever you see a team play someone like Andrew Johns or Thurston, and there's a no-name forward on the bench, you know what their job's going to be. If the game gets out of control, but that's the only reason. That's the only thing I can say about Pangai Jr. And Addo-Carr, I think the press had too much of a say in that.
I think it was just based on what he did for Australia.
Maybe.
I think Freddie and his selectors got their pants pulled down how well he played for Australia, not picking for New South Wales, so he was always going to be there. For Campbell Graham as well, you think Campbell Graham had his name already on the back of that jersey till Turbo turned up.
Yeah. But to me, the strange thing was how Matt Burton was never in the equation.
Yeah.
Even though he was almost player of the series for New South Wales last year. I don't get it. He had such a good year last year in Origin. Why wouldn't you just, and especially now that the name Walsh, those Burton bombs.
Well, I want to talk about the makeup and the balance of the New South Wales side, but quickly on Chris's question of the Tedesco over Dylan Edwards, is it a good choice? I think form-wise, you'd say it's not a very good choice, but it's hard. Is New South Wales really going to drop their captain at the moment? I don't think so. I think it'd be a very brave Fittler after last year's some of his early mistakes with their team selections, to especially being game one at a neutral venue. And I think both teams have named teams that go after the game and don't let it come to them, and they know they need to put their best foot forward from the start. And I think just having Tedesco there as that safety net and to get the boys around each other is probably a must for New South Wales at the moment. Adam, Tedesco or Dylan Edwards for you?
I think I've done the right thing by picking Tedesco. Look, he consistently hasn't really had a bad Origin game. And for me, it comes down to the thing we spoke about last week as well, of you wouldn't want to pick too many Penrith players. I believe there's already too many Penrith players in the team. I know they say you bring your club form across and your combinations, but we saw it in the game we lost in Game 3 last year. If Cleary's off, then it seems like LOI's off and everyone else is off. The whole left side was off because of that. So I wouldn't put him in there for that reason. I know he can be a game changer, but Teddy on his day is as good as everyone. And like you said, being the captain and stuff, they were never going to drop him, were they? They couldn't even have the balls to drop their 5'8". They're not going to drop their fullback captain.
Yeah, and on this, mate, you did a perfect segue for me there. On the makeup of the spine, so to speak, so you've got Teddy, who's underperforming at the moment, which would be of concern for Brad Fittler, even though he won't come out publicly and say anything about that. You've got Cleary, who hasn't established himself yet for mine as a New South Wales player or a State of Origin player. He's sort of, for mine, crumbled in some of those big moments and where he could have really taken charge of the game. LOI, for mine, hasn't been in form all year. He's had one good game 2 weeks ago, and they've pretty much picked him off that. It's Cleary's team. Cleary, for mine, has had way too much of a say in the Blues makeup, and probably Alexander as well in a way. The hooker, for mine's an interesting choice because for mine, Cook has been the front-running hooker for New South Wales all year with the way he plays. And I think for a Queensland forward, if you ask all of them, they'd say the most scary factor at the moment would be playing a fresh Damien Cook, whose running game is second to none and probably the quickest over 10 metres or so. Coruscant, does he add that running factor? I don't think so. But what he adds is obviously that ex-Penrith factor. I feel like that's what's got him over the line because
They said it.
He hasn't got the fear factor, does he?
You've hit the nail on the head, though, about Cleary there. Cleary has had way too much involvement picking this team. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's the reason that Pengai Jr. We know Pengai Jr. obviously spent the end of the season there at Penrith. Was that a couple of years ago? And he did an absolute awesome job of protecting Cleary when he had to, especially defensively. So it wouldn't surprise me if Cleary has gone ahead and picked the team. But I want to say one thing. It's about players being out of form when it comes to Origin. Remember Greg Inglis? Everyone remembers Greg Inglis, mate. He could be having the worst year of his life. Would get to Origin time, he would stand up. We're seeing Gagai consistently do it. We saw Brett Finch step in and be a hero in an Origin game when he was playing average club football. So it doesn't really matter how blokes are playing. They get themselves up for these Origin games.
Well, on the final makeup of the Blues here, Nico Hines obviously being selected on the bench in that utility role. I'm really worried at the moment in terms of how they use him and if they sort of scar him in a way early on with Origin, which I've seen us do in the past with some of these players who come off the bench and don't really get to play their normal position or their normal role. Now, there's been talk of him coming on to play hooker because Coruscant hasn't played 80 minutes, I don't think, yet this year. So that's a concern as well. There's no established second dummy half in the team. So that's a massive risk when you're coming into Origin footy. And we all know that fatigue factor steps up another notch. But I don't know where Nico Hines is going to come into this because Isaiah Yeo's an 80-minute lock. He won't come off, or very rarely does he come off. I really got no idea what they're doing with Hines at the moment.
I've heard rumours of LOI going to hooker and Hines coming on, which would be the most logical option.
Yeah.
I believe Cam Murray.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah, I believe Cam Murray can also play a little bit of hooker if need be, if they did get a player go down. But yeah, I agree with you, Joel. It's a strange choice. I feel like Nico Hines needs to be named in the six or not named at all. Yeah. I feel like a number of players would be better 14s and come on and have that impact, that aggression, and just be stand-up Origin players. I love Nico. I love everything he does for the game. But, look, I think it's a waste of time having him at 14.
Yeah. All right. And Matty, got any final say on the New South Wales lineup?
No, I think Adam hit it on the head then when he said that was my thought as well. Jerome can play hooker. I think he's played there a bit for Penrith in the lower grades before he come up. But, yeah, I think if Appy needs a spell, I can see Hines going. What do you do if we're behind? Hines comes in at 5'8", Jerome goes to hooker, and we absolutely blitzed it. Do you keep it that way game 2? That's a question.
I feel that's a question we can ponder and get to this time next week, and hopefully we start to answer that question. But quickly on the Queensland lineup, I know personally we don't care too much about it, but we'll try and be professional and neutral as much as we can here. You've already touched on the Ponga, Walsh, Adam. I feel like Ponga's injury on the weekend has probably put his line with a red mark across it. I feel like that probably scared Queensland in a way, not wanting to take that risk and risk losing a key player early on. So Reece Walsh's form has got him over the line there. Dane Gagai for mine's a massive loss. I feel like if there's one player as a New South Wales fan, just steps up and you just know what you're going to get from him, it's him. Now, Hemiso has been killing it this year at fullback. Centre's a different beast. Add to that rep footy, add to that state of origin. He's going up three stairs basically in 1 week, and it's a massive ask against probably Latrell. I think it's going to be at this stage. But even if it was against Turbo, with just what we've seen from Turbo at that level as well, it's hard to ask him to keep up with those two to start with. So, Matty, where are you at with the Queensland lineup?
Yeah, I wasn't like I know last week we were panicking, but to me I'm not worried anymore. I think I don't know whether the event leading up and that will get to Walsh being a rookie and his first game, whether he'll step up. Gagai, he's a massive loss for them. But in saying that, they're still going to have Valentine Holmes, which he'll get an intercept for sure. Every series he gets a length of the field intercept. I think there's going to be a few more twists along the way. We talked about it last week with Papali'i retiring, so that's made way for someone else to come in. But I think both teams are strong. But I wasn't as worried as I was last year looking at some of those selections. If Ponga was in there and Gagai, I'd be panicking. But I think the Ponga, the duty of care. I think Slater rang him saying it. But he'll, which makes you wonder about Newcastle now because he'll go out with a point to prove for the next game.
The other interesting one there is no Capewell either, so that was a bit of an interesting one in the edge, but Feeder's been killing it, so that's not a massive loss there.
Because Capewell doesn't play for Penrith anymore.
Yeah, we'll look at just a quick tongue-in-cheek comment here, Adam, and question for you. Queensland have selected 2 hookers. Is that necessarily is that not the right way to go?
It's smart because looking at their bench, they've got us covered on the bench big time. Like their bench of Harry Grant, Tino plays big minutes for the Gold Coast starting in the front row. I believe he's their captain, isn't he, Tino? So Ruben Cotter, who's been killing it for the Cowboys, pretty much playing 80 minutes a lot, and Jai Arrow killing it for South Sydney as well with big minutes. The bench is where they get us. Look, Harry Grant will have more of an impact at 14, and then obviously Nico Hines will at 14. Bringing him on, obviously an 80-minute hooker for Melbourne to come on and do a small job there is an excellent move. Look, if you want to talk about their downfall, I've already mentioned it, but I think the hammer will get exposed in the centres. But, I don't know. Look, I was probably the same as Matt. I was probably saying Queensland 3-0 last week. It's actually pretty hard to pick. I don't know which way it's going to go, but they got some big outs as well, obviously with Kaufusi and experience there and a young forward pack, but they just seem fitter and bigger and more keen, that forward pack of theirs.
I feel like they should be starting slightly favourites for this series, the Queenslands. I really like, especially that, as you said, that bench and just their spine players are sort of there basically and done it before, stepped up to that level, know what to do. Last bit of our podcast, guys, we like to finish on trying to make people some money. Please gamble responsibly, bet with your head, not over it, I think I'm supposed to be saying. So do all the legalities, get them out of the way. We haven't got one yet. We were close with a few over the last few weeks, but I'll kick us off my one. I've got the Dolphins 1-12. I've got the Cowboys with the 14.5 start. I think they were bound to be Paris forward pack. They got quite a few out. They could become a bit more even than the bookies are making that game. The Warriors to win 1-12. And I think Cody Walker will step up in Latrell's absence to score a try, anytime try scorer. If you chuck your power price, increase the odds on that one with Sportsbet, you're going to get $47.59. So gamble responsibly, put a lazy fiver on it if you can afford it, and you should be eating something other than mee goreng noodles for the week. Matty?
Yeah, so I've gone Eels 13 plus. I've gone Warriors 13 plus. I've got Canberra 1.5 at the line, and I've got Newcastle 13 plus. Power play is $22.21.
Oh, look out. Lobster mornay for dinner if you use Sunday. Adam, get us home.
Yeah, look, I've obviously a bit less to choose from with only the 5 games. I've just gone a 13 plus multi and I went so close. I got cheated by referees a couple of weeks ago, but I've gone Dolphins 13 plus, Parramatta 13 plus. I've gone the Knights 13 plus against a Manly team with half of their spine out. The Warriors 13 plus playing obviously Brisbane over there with players out in New Zealand. And this is the risky one because South Sydney obviously have no Latrell, Jai Arrow, Cam Murray, but I've gone South Sydney 13 plus against Canberra as well. I think Canberra's really going to miss Hudson Young and everything he does for him.
Oh, that's all good. That's all good. But that's probably only going to get you about $3.
$158 to power play. The power play is $128. So put $5 on that and you'll be laughing your way to the bank.
That's all we've got time for, guys. Thanks. I know it's the first one. Hard to get the word out there, but appreciate everyone who's come on, asked some questions, given 3 of us odd-looking characters a listen, and your time for a Wednesday night. If you're a Para fan, please go over to Talking Para podcast now and have a listen to the next show that we'll all be featuring on live, talking all things Parramatta. If you like the content, please make sure you like, subscribe, League of Inches on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify podcasts. In the works of doing iTunes podcasts as well. But enjoy your Wednesday night. I really appreciate you all coming on. Matty, Adam, I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes.
Have a good Tuesday, guys.
Have a good Tuesday.
Have a good Tuesday, guys.
Yeah, sorry, Wednesday, guys.